Welcome to Scale Her Up, the show for female business owners and leaders who want to grow profitable, sustainable businesses without burning out. I'm Dr. Brenda Hector. I'm a business growth specialist helping women develop themselves and their businesses so they can achieve their goals and enjoy the lifestyle they dream of. In each episode, you'll hear inspiring stories, honest conversations, and practical strategies to help you start, grow, or scale your business. If you're new here, hit follow so you don't miss an episode and come and join our Scale Her Up Facebook community to keep the conversation going. Now, today I've got Catherine Bunn, who's the Managing Director of Highland Campers Limited and also the Director of Camperlux Limited. Catherine, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Hi, Brenda. Thank you for inviting me along.
I don't know which one to start with first. We'll go with Highland Campers Limited. Tell me what it is that you do there.
Well,
Who's your customers? What are you providing?
Highland Campers is the limited company name for Highland Campervans, is the brand we trade as. And Highland Campervans is a motorhome dealership on the outskirts of Inverness. So we started off 19 years ago with campervan hire, and then we expanded so that we do retail sales and servicing, and actually we stopped hiring last year, 18 months ago. So now it's just purely motorhome dealership sales and servicing.
Motorhomes are very popular these days, aren't they? Post-COVID, I think they got really popular, didn't it?
There's been a steady increase. I think they've perhaps got more visibility in COVID during the COVID
Okay.
times, just because perhaps it was a way for people to safely travel out and about. But I think people are more aware of their leisure time and how they spend their leisure time and the reality of waiting till you retire to go and do things and achieve things. A lot of us have realised that actually you see colleagues and friends and family members unfortunately passing away or having major life impacting illnesses. And actually, if you wait for your retirement, it might never come. So we just have to make the most of every weekend and every spare time that we have. And a camper van is a great way of achieving that and having some time out and making the memories as you go rather than waiting to the end.
So were you a camper vanner that then started the business, or how did it come
So
about?
I've always camped and tented with my family since we were really young. And actually, the staff laugh at me, but I have a Fisher-Price camper van that was a family toy that I loved when I was younger. So I said I've always had a passion for motorhomes, camper vans. So it was when we gone away hill walking with my husband, and he was doing an ice climb up in Skye, and I was sitting in a tent because I thought I might be pregnant. And I just thought, oh, I want to keep going away and having adventures, but I'm not sitting in a tent on a bleak and windy and miserable day in Skye, and I don't want to be left behind. So I was like, we need something so we can get a camper van ourselves to go out and about with the baby and just with the families and keep doing things. So that's where we started looking at camper vans. And at the same time, we were also brainstorming. I was in the Royal Air Force, and I was thinking, what can I do if I come out of the forces? What could I do as a business, as a career? What could I do as a stay-at-home mum and with a baby in tow? And actually, that's when we found we brainstormed lots of different business ideas. And actually, we were going to go off on a completely different business tangent. Actually, initially, we had a whole business plan set up, and it was only when I was doing the SWOT analysis on that business. This is back in 2006, so the recession was just about to kick in, and actually one of the weaknesses and threats that we identified was the economic circumstances, and the business that we were going to go into was potentially something that was probably more of a luxury, and if there was a recession coming, it would be something that people would cut out. So that actually made me literally shelve that whole business, sit it to the side, go back to the drawing plan, start again. What other ideas did we have? What can we do? It was my husband who initially said, let's get a camper van and actually, yeah, why don't you hire them out? And I was like, that's actually a really good idea. So that was where the kind of Highland camper van started, just with me and a little table in the corner of the lounge. That's something I could do with a baby.
Hiring out your own camper van.
Hiring out our own, and then we bought a second one. I bought two.
Okay.
Yeah, we couldn't actually get money to start the business. I went to the banks with my business plan and my everything all done on a new SWOT analysis, which was like, yeah, this is good. It's something we can achievable. And I went to the bank and they just said no. A couple of reasons. One reason was that if nobody's already doing it, then there's a reason for that. And actually, so it's probably not going to be successful. And also, they wouldn't lend any money against a camper van vehicle asset. It had to be like a fixed thing that we had to buy. So in the end, we got a price for a very expensive conservatory. And this is probably not how you're supposed to do it, but you know what? Means must. So I got a fantastic conservatory, plans all drawn up to go on the side of our house. We extended our mortgage by £20,000 to buy a conservatory. And I may have moved the money sideways into buying two camper vans. And that's how the whole thing started. I was with this yeah, basically plans for a conservatory that never came about.
So there's a few things there. The risk averse nature of the banks, even before the 2008 crash.
Yes,
Yeah,
completely. This was back in
yeah.
2000, late 2006, early 2000, when I started trying to get funding to buy something. And it's always been quite difficult and challenging to get money for vehicles that you're putting into hire, especially because you want to turn the vehicles over. Every year or so, every couple of years, you want to change the vehicles around. Even sometimes if you can get asset funding, it's because you want to have a loan against a vehicle for 3 years to 5 years. And you get penalised if you then sell that vehicle and change it to something else. It's always been quite a difficult thing to grow and to nurture and to move on. But yeah, there's when you're determined, I will always find a way.
Yeah, which obviously you were, and to go and hoodwink the mortgage company slightly to get the funding, and that worked. Did you ever get the conservatory?
We actually
No.
ended up having to move. The business grew too much for that property anyway, so we ended up selling it, and we found another site that we leased out, we rented, that had a much bigger kind of house and grounds and was perfect for the business during its next phase of growth. And then eventually we had to move out of that one as well, just because the business is still here on site at Kerowed, but we just being around all the business all the time was quite hard. It was good when the children were really young, but then as they got older and noisier and wanted to kick footballs around £70,000 motorhomes, I was like, oh. So moved them sideways. So yeah, so we moved away from the site just so that I'm still within literally a 5-minute drive of work, but we've got our own space to go back to.
So talk to me about the growth then, from two camper vans that you'd got the funding for from your mortgage to where, how did things grow?
I think perhaps because of the nature of the business we're in is, and also I've always paced the growth of the business at a pace that I'm comfortable with. So I've had two children. The business started literally with the birth of my son. He was 2 weeks old when I started the website design. I gave myself 2 weeks off and then did the website. He was 6 months old when I had our first hire, and I would just take him with me in his car seat and just go and collect customers from the airport. And then I had another son 17 months after the first one, so they're very close together. So that's always been juggling the family and managing the business and growth. So at times there's things I've really wanted to do, but because I've had the children, I didn't want to miss them either. And so I've just steadied down and slowed everything down a bit. So a lot of our growth has been organic and has been us reinvesting profits back into the business, just constantly ploughing money back in. So I'm quite tight in terms of my budgets are quite tight. I'm quite strict in my own personal life as well as with the business. I think it's really important that you have control over those expenses. But that means that we have been able to manage personally and professionally with the business, just keep putting the money back in and ploughing it back in for growth, for self-sustained growth. We've had loans over the time as well. We had loans to help with some of the hire fleet. At one point, we ran a fleet of 12 hire vehicles. Some of them I owned outright, some of them we had loans against. But then it gets tricky and it's just juggling it and turning it all around and things. So now it's just the money, the equity just sits in the business and it just keeps ploughing it back in. And we've got another phase of growth we're about to undertake to try and get a brand new big workshop. So I've had to, part of the reason for changing the hire fleet over is to release some equity within the business so that we can reinvest it in another area that I think is an area for growth. So yeah, it's been constant juggle and challenging and
Yeah.
can do. But it is difficult to get funding. And I don't know, I do think sometimes that's because as a female-led business, I am, and maybe in my personality as well, I am naturally cautious. I do not want to go and implode my business by over-financing, by overstretching ourselves too much. So I have been quite cautious. And when I do forecasts, I'm quite prudent. I'm quite cautious, whereas other business advisors have warned me and said, look, you need to be a bit more. Do you really think that you're only going to do this, or do you think you could do this? And I was like, well, you could do this and this. And they're like, put those figures down. Stop being so conservative. Be more bullish. And I think that's sometimes with some of the male-led businesses is that they perhaps are a bit more bullish and they're a bit more, they have perhaps a bit more self-belief, confidence, arrogance, whatever you want to call it. But they have that ability to just go, we're going to do this. And whether they hit it or not, it doesn't really make a difference. It just,
Yeah.
but whereas I'm just more, if I'm not going to do it, I won't say I'm going to do it. So
Okay.
I think sometimes you hold yourself back a bit. So I'm trying to be more.
I was just about to say, do you think that's held you back then?
Some things, yes, but actually also I've enjoyed my children now. They're kind of 18, both of them 18 upwards. So actually I've seen them grow. I'm happy. I've done that. I've managed to juggle the business and the family life, enjoyed both. But actually, yes, now the business is ready for kind of full-time growth and expansion again and focus. So that's a good thing.
Good, good. And we'll talk about that, what's coming in a minute. I want you to just tell me about Campalux Limited.
So that's another business I have running alongside. It's also Motorhomes, but it's a franchise. I bought the franchise rights for it. It's a business called Motorhome Depot, which is a national organisation. So a bit like Rightmove, everyone knows Rightmove help advertise houses for sale. Depot helps advertise motorhomes for sale. So I cover an area from Dundee to Oban. If you draw a line across Scotland, pretty much everything north. If there's somebody who wants to perhaps advertise a motorhome for sale in those areas, and they contact the organisation nationally, which is national advertising, then yeah, we'll go along so to their houses. But it tends to be rather than the Highland Campervans, the vehicles come to us at the dealership. They're on the sales yard here. Depot, nationally, generally, the vehicles stay with owners whilst they're getting advertised for sale, so people can keep using them. So if they want to go on holiday, but maybe they want to upsize or downsize, they're not quite there yet, but it means that they can keep using the vehicle whilst it's up for sale. But we deal with all of the advertising, we deal with all of the information, the inquiries. People often, when they're looking for something, they want to buy a £65,000 motorhome, but they've got a trade-in. They've got a vehicle that they need to sell first. So we can help facilitate that, or we can get finance, warranties, and different things as well. So they're, to be honest, very complementary businesses. They work really well together, but I do keep them as two separate businesses. I just happen to own both of them, but I run them separately. And I've got staff that are all employed through Highland Campervans that are subcontracted to help me run the Motor and Depot franchise for the north of Scotland.
Fantastic. I've made a note of that. I might talk about motorhome sales shortly after we've finished the interview. Tell me, you mentioned your staff then. Tell me about building your team, starting off just yourself in the corner of your living room with a little table. How many staff do you have now?
So we're down at about 22 staff, 23 staff. 23. I think the most I've probably had is 27, 28, maybe hit 30, but we've scaled back. It just depends on the business, on the growth thing. So it was quite daunting. So obviously started with just myself. And then I soon realised with a baby that I needed some additional support just to help sometimes with turning the vans around. So I had a lovely lady called Elaine, who was amazing, who came along, and she also had a son, a newborn son, a young son too. So she would bring her son to work with her as well, and we would sit there. Whoever was cleaning the camper van, there's a little area at the back of the van that we could sit them in with the pots and pans and a wooden spoon, and the children would sit there quite happily in the back while the mums cleaned the vans and did the turnaround, and it worked really well. So I tended to employ other fellow part-time kind of working mums for quite a few years, and then they helped with accounts, and we just slowly expanded. And it's just taking time really to go actually strategically. At various times I've undertaken business courses. Totally recommend doing business courses every so often, just because it helps you reevaluate where are you now, where do you want to be, and how do you move yourself into that. So a few times we've had moments where we have as a business just gone, actually, let's stop here, let's draw a line here, let's rebrand, let's not rebrand, but let's restart again with new fresh goals, and these are our new targets, and this is how we're going to do it, and how we're going to go off on this strategic kind of route to get there. So staff have taken on it. So I was a member of the Federation of Small Businesses. I'm a member. I'm very happy, delighted, because they've got somewhere that has all the resources online to help you with your basic employment contracts, employment law, different advice and things, especially for smaller and starting out. And then as we've taken on more staff, we engage the services of an outsourced HR company, basically, which has been excellent as well. We use, because if I've got any queries at all, I just phone them up. And through the years, now in 19 years, we've had some excellent staff, but we've also had some challenging staff. So getting that advice and getting that support of how to properly handle that, how to support those staff, try to bring them on. And if they're not, then actually you have to sometimes say that this isn't working, you're not in the right role here, actually. And it's holding them back as well as a person. It's no good somebody being employed in the wrong business, in the wrong role. It's not, they don't get life fulfillment either. They know they're underperforming, or they know they're struggling, or they know they're not happy. And instead of it impacting everybody else, it's like giving them the confidence to say, look, why don't you go and find something else that actually suits you and your personality and your skill set? I believe in trying to encourage everybody to work to their strengths. If you've got staff, identify what the strengths are of your staff, and then make sure you are fully utilising those strengths, rather than putting somebody in a completely wrong role for them. If they're not working, why is it? Is it something we're doing wrong? Is there something not quite right from that? And actually going, could we move you sideways? Could we do this? And I think that's really important, and how you keep some fantastic staff.
Brilliant, brilliant. So do you have good staff retention then?
We have excellent, yeah. So we've got some of our staff. It was probably 10 years ago when we started a drive to go, we're going to do this, we're going to change this around. And it didn't involve a bit of a juggle with some staff of people perhaps who I went on a business course and they were like, this person was always constantly saying no to everything I was suggesting. And it's actually, they're a different tangent. And sometimes you have to acknowledge that and say, actually, it is holding the business back. It's holding this back because you've got a different idea. And sometimes you get, maybe we need to part companies. It's not my way or the highway, absolutely not. It has to be, I have to listen to my staff if they're telling me something. I do try and take it on board, but ultimately you have got to have a vision and you have got to drive that and push it forwards. Otherwise, too many ideas, too many things coming in, you end up just getting a mishmash and not really achieving anything. We did for a while actually try with my husband also working alongside the business as kind of joint directors. I've always worked full-time in the business. He joined the business after about 3 years we'd had it established. And then he worked full-time. He left his full-time job and came to work for Highland Campervans. And then for a little while, we did try the whole, or we'll try equal, and it just didn't work because I would say no to things, and then somebody would mention it to him, and he'd go, "Oh, great idea, yeah, just go and do it." And I'd be like, "Why did you approve that?" I'm like, "No, you haven't thought about this. We haven't thought about that. We were going to do this strategically." He's like, "Oh, yeah." So actually, we were said it's easier if I'm the managing director, and he then was quite happy just to go, actually, it's a great idea, but you need to speak to Kath, you need to get approval, and it needs to go into the bigger business plan and the wider picture to check before we just go off on a tangent idea. But yeah.
Is your husband still involved then? He still works in the business?
Part-time, yes. So as we've gone through, I've pretty much been full-time with the children, and actually my husband is an equal parent. Yeah, so he actually has done a lot of the childcare with the children growing up, and when the whole COVID and homeschooling and everything else, my husband took time out and he spent the time with the children and helped support the family in the background. We did try for a while, both of us working full-time, and it's just carnage. Just tiring, exhausting, and then you end up spending money out on cleaners and other people coming in to help the business, help home. And we're like, we need a Mrs. Brown who's in Paddington, Mrs. Brown, the housekeeper, who just helps everything go. We're like, we need one of those. But realistically, that wasn't happening. So we just said, actually, we just need to have some time and actually just one of us. So he's always worked kind of part-time, and then I've done the full-time bits. But I have also worked random hours. So I would be working, I am a 4 a.m. worker. I can't sleep, I wake up. Even now still, he'll frequently find me up at 5 a.m. I'll get up and I just get the laptop straight on and it's in my head, and I just so efficient between 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. And then I'll come over to the site and do some work here. And then by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, right, I think actually I'm ready to go home. It's been a long day already. But you just got to flex and work and see what suits you.
No, that's a really good nugget of advice there, actually. Yeah, you don't have to do the hours that people would expect. Yeah, do what works for you and your business and your family.
Yeah. And I think sometimes as well, one of the big things I do with myself just to help with managing time is we use a Bright HR app for the staffing for all their annual leave and things, and so everybody is. And I also use it for myself. I didn't for quite a few years. It's like the staff had all their hours and contracted hours, and I made sure everybody else took all their annual leave, and I was chasing them like, you must take time off, you've got to use your leave up. And then I myself was getting burnout, and I was just exhausted and working all the time, and I do an awful lot of toil, time off in lieu. I do an awful lot of overtime work that I wasn't taking back. So I actually started recording all the time extra on the app. The 45 minutes in the morning here, the half an hour extra here, this day, that day, an hour and a half here. And actually, suddenly I realised that I was completely, and I also put in the holidays that I was actually taking, proper family holidays, but then I wasn't taking any other days off, and I wasn't using anything like the leave allowance I should be using. And I wasn't using any of the toil, I wasn't taking it back, all the extra hours I was working, perhaps early morning or late at night, or just staying a little bit later every day. So I have started, since I started using the Bright HR app for myself as well, then actually now I take time out from the business and I don't feel guilty, because actually I am entitled to the time off, the same as I would like that. And
That is genius. The amount of business, sorry, on you go.
No, just you're right. The reality of how much you overwork as a business owner when you actually start recording it. And so I think that probably, if I can give any nuggets to anybody who is growing and is getting perhaps at burnout, is treat yourself the same way you treat your staff.
The amount of business owners I speak to who say they're doing lots of hours, and how do you feel about that? It's just what's expected. It's what you have to do when it's your own business. But actually, it's not healthy, is it?
It's not. And I have a lot of outside of, I work hard and I play hard. I'm always taking time out. I do mountain days, and I will sometimes, if it's a stunning day, And I go, actually, do you know what? My diary is actually clear. I'm going to take a day out and I'm going to go up in the Munros. I'm going to go do some hills. I'm going to go running. I've done a few. I like to sign myself up for crazy little events and stuff. So I do something and then I'm like, I'm not doing anything forever again. And then 2 years later, I'll forget how much pain it was and I'll sign myself up for something else. So I've done quite a bit of ultra running over the last few years, but that requires quite a bit of time out of just time on the feet, ground, just running and height and climbing in mountains and things. So, but it makes me leave, and I'm really into sea kayaking, off the legs, more on the bum. But so I do lots of sea kayaking at the moment. And again, it's just time away from the business and I'm committed to weekends away. So I have got to put the laptop, leave it away and go and do things and have some fun.
Work hard, play hard. I think that's a great message also. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. Tell me, Catherine, what have you learned about yourself then over these nearly 20 years in business?
I think I'm very determined. I always knew that though, probably as a youngster, I've always been quite determined. Probably do have a touch of ADHD somewhere in me, but again, just constantly busy and constantly doing things. But learn about myself. That's one thing I hadn't really thought about particularly. I am a natural leader. I've always been in leadership roles since I was a teenager. I was in the Air Cadets. I was sponsored by the RAFC Uni and just I've always taken roles of position of responsibility. And I do enjoy seeing other people grow. I enjoy nurturing other people and seeing them achieve and be happy as well. We had a member of staff who has worked with us now for several years. And one role when we were finished the hires, it was like, this person isn't quite in the right role. They tried something else. It wasn't quite working. But I was like, let's find the person's strengths. And now we've moved this person in. They're now working in the sales team and they are absolutely amazing. They're doing really well. And it's just finding that niche and finding and using, they're really good at talking to customers, but no pressure and just the soft, just helpful. They're just so helpful. And I think just finding somebody and saying, actually, this person is not right in that area of the business. They weren't doing well. They knew they were struggling themselves with it, but actually then finding something else and being able to find a role that really suits them. That's really good. And so I've really enjoyed that. I really enjoy, we've got a great team at the moment and we do a lot of team building things as well. We've done a lot of things just to celebrate successes, small successes in the business. And we'll do lots of things for our 20th anniversary next year. We will do things next year. But we also put quite a lot of money into team building events and trying to do things. So we've done paddleboarding, we've done sea kayaking, we did zip wire in November, a nighttime zip wire track thing. So yeah, there's quad biking and they do crazy golf and bowling as well, some cheaper things. So it's we've done lots of different things. So I think, yeah, just you can work, you can do things. Enjoy
Yeah,
it.
no, that's great. That's great. Who's been your biggest supporter over the years?
I think we've got lots of. My husband is very supportive in terms of we're a team together. So yes, I run the business and everything else, but he also then helps with the family life. So I don't feel so pulled away, so stressed by everything behind it. But our customers, I would say, actually have been really fantastic. So our customers themselves are really loyal. So we've had lots of customers repeated from the years. And customers will come back now and say, oh, I remember when you started out when we were up on the Culloden Moor, and then you come down here and you've grown and you've done so much and they've really championed us and they've then recommended us to families and friends and been really supportive. So I think just having a great team around you and employees and then having fantastic customers who believe in the business and understand as well the value that it's adding to the area and to the community. I think that's really nice. So it is very much a community. And I think that's one of the things I did a really good business course a few years ago. Again, a scaling, how to kind of grow your business from getting it up into it was before we'd hit the £1 million turnover threshold and things. And it was just, how do you make that transition? And there was a really good Bill Not, I think he's called, who's over from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and he talked about castles, moats, and cores and things. And have you ever heard of that?
No.
So he talked about this, a really good analogy. So you've maybe got your castle, which is your infrastructure on site. So it's how you protect your business and how you help ensure its stability for future. So the castle for us is our workshop. We've got this amazing facility. We've got all the shop on site. We've got diesel tanks, LPG gas tanks, all these other things that we can do. So that's really good. You then have a moat around you, which helps maybe stop competitors coming into you, encroaching into your area. So our moat perhaps is some of the relationships we have with our suppliers. So for instance, no one's going to be able to set up selling the same brands that we sell within a close proximity to us. And we develop really good supplier relationships. We also would have really good relationships from the hire fleet with garages out on the West Coast. We would say thank you to them. We would take them chocolates or biscuits because we would not develop that relationship wider in the community. But at the core, at the heart of the castle, there is something you're protecting, your gemstone that you're protecting, which is if somebody else was to come and take that from you, then that is where as a business you need to protect it. And that for us, our gem we identified was our customers. That is at the core, that's at the heart of everything we do, why we do everything. And one of our branding is create amazing memories. And so that for us is how do we help our customers create amazing memories through every interaction with us. So when they come on the site, does the site look nice? When they drive at the drive, are there nice flowers? Just so that they see nice things when they come in. Are they met by somebody who's going to be smiling and cheerful and when the customer hosts? That's why we're called customer hosts and not receptionists. It's more than just reception. Actually, it's about welcoming customers. It's about helping them. And even if we can't help them here, how do we signpost customers to somebody else who could help them? We never say no. We say, we perhaps can't do that or can't help you, but let's try these people. Pull up your phone, here's this and give them a call. So it's about trying to make sure that your customers, and then in our workshop, how do we make sure that customers' vehicles are maintained safely for them to use? If there's something that breaks, how do they get repaired swiftly, efficiently, and how do we look after them? And when someone's buying a van or selling a van, how do we help guide them through that journey for various, depending what the reasons and the circumstances behind it? So our customer is our core, but it's a really good idea about that whole kind of ethos and how you protect your business. And then if you've got your core sorted and everything else around it, then that helps with the growth. So stability, a strong castle and with a good moat, and then a really good core that we're protecting.
And I guess for lots of businesses, the gems, the crown jewels is the customer. Because if you don't have those,
but some will have a USP. They might have a particular USP that they've done. They might have a technology that they've innovated on and they've patented. Yeah. So there's lots of different things that that it could be, but you have to go actually, what is it that we're looking for, and then identify it for your own business. But it is just a way of thinking about how you structure things and how you're growing things and why you're doing.
I'm just thinking about my own business and my clients, and I thank you very much for that model. I will use that again. Thank you.
It's not mine, it's Bill's. I have to say, I have to give the credit to Bill.
Yeah, celebrating 20 years next year. The boys, I take it, are fairly independent by this stage. What's the next step for you and the businesses then?
So we would like to try and improve our workshop facility. Where we are on Cerwed, Steading, just on the outskirts of Inverness. Excuse me. It was an old dairy farm. So over the years, as the business has grown, we've slowly taken on more. So initially we used the tractor shed was our workshop one. And we would have to I would go out in the mornings in the early hours with my husband, and we would be with a pickaxe kind of chipping away the ice to open the doors in the winter so that he could open the doors to get in to build camper vans. And then we moved to workshop 2, which had grain in it, a little bit of storage of different bits and pieces that we took over from the farmers. So we cleared that out, and then we renovated an area, the old milking parlour. We turned that into a bit of a shop and an office. So that was all done. And then we moved into workshop 3 in time, which is a huge, great big barn that was in the site area. But initially for several years, it was being used by local farmers for grain storage. So when they moved out, we moved in. But to be honest, the slats, the wind just blows straight in. The snow, the sleet comes in the winter. It's pretty cold in there. It's a solid concrete floor. So, and actually sometimes through the winter, we actually can't work on the vans because everything's just frozen. The vans stay frozen in the building. We have to put heating in. We've got an inner tent we use sometimes to try and get the temperature up. But with the cost of electricity and everything recently, you spend more on trying to heat the space than you do actually what you'd make in terms of profitability from undertaking the undersealing work and other jobs, repairs. So actually we need to really renovate the workshop. So it's been a big plan. We did get funding. We've hopefully got some funding from HIE, Highland Islands Enterprise, from the Green Grant Fund. And then now it's just a case of finding equity in ourselves, going out to lenders, getting loans and getting it sorted. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, is trying to get the workshop, because it's such a core part of it. We'd undertaken the sales side. We've pretty much done all the groundwork we can do here now. So we've got a great big storage area. We've got a sales yard area, hookup points, electric and things. So yeah, it's getting the workshop sorted is the next big
Yeah,
challenge.
so a bit of work on the castle then.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think it definitely needs a bit of an overhaul and
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Is there anything, Catherine, that I should have asked you that I haven't asked? Anything you want to add to the conversation?
I think probably the only thing I would say that particularly for me for growing the business is constant learning. So we've done a lot of training. I really believe in staff training. We've won awards for every few years we enter an award for something, and my goal is always to get at least shortlisted, ideally win, but at least get on the top shortlist. So we've done really well in achieving lots of awards over the years or getting to the finalist position. But training for staff, I think, is really important, not just because as a business owner, you also need to do training. The world evolves, everything's evolving constantly, so you've got to keep up with it. But it also just gets the staff to come on the journey with you and they get involved in that. And then you see that and you see their knowledge increasing, you see their understanding of products increasing, or their ability to handle certain customer situations is better. So I think just involving yourself in training and always looking out for learning opportunities is something to do. And also I've learned some really good things again on another course I was on. It was a marketing course, it was about for growing your business. And it's something that I think at one point we were guilty of this and it was holding us back from our growth, was we had a bit of a scattergun approach to our target market. We weren't clear who exactly. It was kind of anybody who's interested in a caravan, motorhome, whatever. We'll do everything. But the problem with doing everything is that you become not really an expert. You maybe a jack of all trades, but you're not really an expert in anything in particular. And it was just too much and too much volume. So again, probably back to Bill Owler again, it was one of he talks about this beachhead strategy. Have you heard of that at all? So the beachhead strategy, the idea is that back in, unfortunately, World War II, when they went over to try and liberate Dunkirk and everywhere else, they didn't just say, we're going to go back to Europe and we're going to go everywhere, and we're going to try and take everything. We said, we're going to go to Dunkirk, we're going to go here, and we're going to get this area of the coast, we're going to go to this beachhead, and it's a military strategy used across all through and lots of different places, but you will go and you'll secure this area here, and then you'll go somewhere else and you'll secure that area there, and then you'll move further down and do that one. And he said, if you think of that with your target markets, with who are you trying, your customers and your customer persona, who is it you're trying to target? Make sure you have got that market nailed down before then you go to a different demographic or a different type of vehicle and anything else. So having done that business course, and I was like, we are totally guilty of just doing everything, that we reeled it right back in. It took a few years, but we reeled it right back in. So now our speciality is compact motorhomes. That's our bread and butter. 5 to 5.4 meters to 6 or 6.4 meters. Small compact panel vans, which are ideal for the Highland roads. They're narrow, they're slim, they're short, they're great. We do have bigger motorhomes that come in for brokerage and trade-ins. We do sell bigger motorhomes too, but our bread and butter is that smaller one, and we have a specific demographic who we target for that. And then around that, as and when capacity allows you to do that, you can look and do other things. But I think just being a bit more focused on for who we wanted to grow to is probably something, if we're talking about growth and how to grow your business, probably helpful advice.
I love that. Yeah, really good. Get one area right first and then expand. Yeah, brilliant. Catherine, we're running out of time. I could listen to you all day. I have loads of questions I haven't been able to ask. Maybe I'll get you back on another time. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. It's been really interesting conversation.
Thanks. So hopefully it's helpful, and yeah, it's always here to help support and to be part of the business community. It's really good. So always happy to share.
We talked very little about being a woman in business, but yeah, whether that's relevant or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, really good to have your perspective. And thank you to you for listening to Scale Her Up. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and leave a review. It helps more female business owners to find us. Come and join our Scale Her Up Facebook community to get support, accountability and connection with other women who get it. And remember, only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs are female, and men are still 5 times more likely to scale their business beyond £1 million in turnover than women. When we start and scale our businesses to the same extent as men, we'll add £250 billion to the UK economy and create millions of jobs. So ladies, you can do it, and your business can make a massive difference.